This is a real deal enemies to lovers. He wants to kill her. That's a surprise. Staring and staring and staring, in my opinion. You're lying to yourself, boy. Hi everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. A is back talking about books. Today will be the first video of the Darkverse series set of videos. We are going to be talking about The Predator and The Reaper. The first two books of the Darkverse series. The reason why I'm putting these two books together is because I want to talk about every couple, and these two books follow only one couple. If you don't know anything about the Darkverse series, I do have a video on the series as a whole. I'll link it below. I'll also put that little thing, I don't know which side it's on, one of these sides where you click it and check out that video before you want to go into this one. But I will be talking about the first two books. This will be my review on it. For The Predator and The Reaper, I gave The Predator, which is the first book of the series, a 3.5 out of 5 stars, and I gave The Reaper a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It's just because the plot, there was just way too much mystery and it was a bit convoluted in book one that it made the book as a whole feel really incomplete. So even though I did enjoy myself while I was reading it as its own book by itself, I didn't really feel like I could give it more than 3.5 out of 5 stars. Book two, following that same couple, added upon the first one. So I do think both books together are really, really great as a whole. Book one by itself, not that great, but book one and two together are really good, and that's why I gave the second book a 4.5 out of 5 stars. And I think after you get through the first two books, book three, which I will not be talking about today, but it is The Emperor, is the best book of the series so far. And I'll make another video on that book, but yeah, after book three, you will get hooked to the series, in my opinion. These two first books, The Predator and The Reaper, follow the story of Marana and Tristan. This is a mafia romance with a large mystery as the backstory. Tristan, the male lead, was raised and adopted into a mafia family, the Maroni family. They take control of different cities. The opposing family is Marana's dad's mafia. Marana is part of the mafia as well. The story starts out with Marana breaking into Tristan's house, going into his territory because she created a code that could destroy all of them, both families. Because apparently Marana is super duper smart and has a college degree in computer science, and her ex-boyfriend convinced her to create this code. Still very up in the air as to the specifics of whatever this code is. Her ex-boyfriend convinced her to make these codes and then convinced Marana that Tristan was the one to steal them. The beginning of the book starts out with Marana breaking into his house, into their territory, trying to get the codes back from him. As she breaks into Tristan's house, he catches her and tells her that he does not have them. He does not know what she is talking about. Someone is trying to frame him. And even though there is obvious hate between Tristan and Marana, they both decide to work together to find out who has the codes and who was trying to frame Tristan. There is a lot of mystery in the first book, especially in the entire series, honestly. One of the mysteries being who framed Tristan, second one being who has the codes, a third one being what happened 20 years ago when Marana was a baby and the reason why the alliance between the families are broken up and why everybody's dad don't like each other. All the mafia bosses are keeping such a big secret of what happened 20 years ago. So that is what is up in the air. Those are all the mysteries. I will get into my review. First book, second book, I already said 3.5 out of 5, 4.5 out of 5. I believe Tristan and Marana's story as a whole is a true enemies to lovers. If you want an enemies to lovers, and a real one, okay? Not like a contemporary romance type enemies to lovers. This is a real deal enemies to lovers, he wants to kill her type of situation. I ate it up. I loved it. We also find out the reason why Tristan wants to kill Marana. There is a very specific reason for his hating her. Find out what that reason is at the end of book one. It is one of the mysteries. It's kind of justified in a way, like you can see his line of thinking, which I also really like. It's understandable why he has this obsession with killing her, but they hate each other. Tristan is not nice to Marana. Tristan wants to kill Marana, and because of that, Marana does not like Tristan. They hate each other, yet they cannot help but be attracted to each other. And you know what? That dynamic, That dynamic is so good. I eat it up. This type of dynamic also has room for so much tension. This entire first book, entire second book, maybe like the first half of the second book, is just riddled with insane amounts of tension and staring and staring and staring. I already talked about this in my review of the series as a whole, but there's just like so much staring because I guess that's where the tension lies. It's borderline hilarious. There's just so much angst and it's like bottled up inside and they just want to each other but they can't, and it's so good. I just loved the dynamic. Characters. These two characters, I feel like they don't really go too deep into it. They could have gone a little bit more, but I still think I got enough as a romance reader to understand the reasons why that they end up falling for each other. Marana is a very lonely person and she is the daughter of a mafia boss. She hates the mafia life. Her family does not love her. Her dad does not care for her, and her mom also abandoned both her and her dad. She has no friends and she wants to escape the mafia life after she gets the code. She says, after I get these codes, I am done with the mafia life. I am running away. Tristan is a person who is one of the most dangerous men in their world. He is literally called the Predator. That is his nickname. He is dangerous. He is ruthless. He is lethal. He can kill anybody on sight easily. Because of all of this, because of how brutal he is, he was adopted into the Maroni family, which is one of those big families, right? It is the opposite family to Marana's family. But as the story goes on, you realize that even though Tristan, from Marana's perspective, he was adopted into this family, meaning that this family wanted him, she soon comes to realize that he is still an outsider to them. He is still an outsider to the Maroni family, to the family that he was supposed to be a part of. He is also a very lonely person due to this. As the story goes on, even though the romance starts out as something so brutal, so rooted in hate and resentment, they slowly learn to find comfort within each other, to find that they like the presence of each other around, that around each other they don't really feel so lonely anymore, which is crazy. Going from literally hating each other's guts and wanting to physically kill her, not like, oh, I'm gonna kill you in a figurative way. He literally is like, I'm not letting anybody kill you because that is my blessing to do. I am the one who has the choice of when you die. And I was like, that is crazy, but I love it. And it's funny because the amount of times that Tristan low-key saves Marana's life because he wants to be the one to decide when to kill her. I'm like, you're lying to yourself, boy. You're lying to yourself by saying that you actually want to kill her. Like, you don't actually want to kill her. He, at this point of the book, like, he hasn't convinced himself that he doesn't want her to die. He's convinced that he needs to be the one to do it. So he keeps killing everybody that is trying to kill her, therefore saving her life. And I'm like, you just don't want her to die, do you, bestie? I love the way that this romance is crafted from beginning to end. It's really just about two lonely people finding solace in each other, and their beginnings are really unconventional, right? He literally wants to kill her. Once you find out the reasonings for all of this, I'm not gonna spoil it, but you do find out after the first book that resentment he has towards her and blames her for everything, that it turns into a kind of obsession. There's that weird dynamic and that weird fine line between obsession and love, and I just think even though this relationship is not the healthiest, not healthy in the slightest, but after the first two books, after reading their story, what they go through and how they communicate after a while, going over this mountain of hating each other and resenting each other and having all these reasons why they should not like each other or be together, to pass that, pass all of those beliefs and resentments and obsessions and find love in between all of it. I love that. I really loved these first two books of Tristan and Marana's story. It's also the way that this book mentions how dangerous of a world being in the mafia is for women. It is not a safe place for women. And Marana talks about this consistently. She talks about how she never feels safe. She learns to fight for herself. She learns to try to defend herself, try to fight back when she needs it, because she knows that it's not safe and she will need it one day. But around Tristan, who is the most dangerous person that you could ever think of, he is the predator. He is lethal. He literally wants to kill Marana. He is the most dangerous person of them all, yet she feels the most safest with him. I think there's a bit of a beautiful irony to that type of dynamic. Feeling so safe around someone who is so deadly, feeling like your life is in good hands, the deadliest hands around your throat, but you feel the most safe with a person who has killed so many people. I love that because it also makes sense in a way. After Tristan comes to terms with him liking her and wanting her to stay alive, then he becomes the best bodyguard in a sense. This is a dark romance, and the tension goes crazy in it. I loved it. The only things that I didn't like about this first 2 books is the plot. The beginnings were convoluted. It didn't really make a lot of sense, and the plot was kind of non-existent. I think as the series goes on, they kind of build upon it a little bit more, but there's still a lot of mysteries. But I do like the plot a lot more now. Characters are a bit one-dimensional, specifically Marana. It was mainly the mystery that I was staying for because I had all these questions that weren't answered, and I wanted them answered so badly. And that's why I stayed and I read the books. Character-wise, how come Marana is this genius, right? Like, she wrote these codes that could destroy both families. She's apparently got a college degree in computer science or in working with computers, but there's nothing to show for it. She is just YN. She's just vibe. She's just living her life. She apparently went to college for computers, is really good with computers, but never talks about what her life was like in college. Like, why didn't she make any friends in college? I don't know. Like, there's just nothing there. They just mention it in passing. Oh, she's really smart. Oh yeah, let me just write up this code real quick and that's that on that. I don't know, it just didn't make sense. That is like a real flaw because I know that this author can characterize people well for a fact, because she's able to characterize Tristan as being a predator in such a fascinating way, actually showing us how deadly he is, showing us how he kills people instantly. I think that a lot more characterization could have been done for Marana, showing how smart she is, how driven. I think there could have been a lot of different ways that you could have done that, but the author just didn't really do that. I also think that the plot was non-existent, especially in book 1. Secondly, talk about her like she's such a badass. Yes, she's always being saved all the time. So that's kind of my dislikes on the book, but overall, I really liked the first 2 books. First book, Predator, 3.5 out of 5 stars. Just get through that book. It's pretty slow. Beginning's convoluted, but just read that book to get to the second one, and the second one eats up that story complete, eats it up, and then read the third one, and then you'll be hooked. Okay? Okay? Take my word for it. Please trust me on this. But if you don't like it, if you've read it and you don't like these books, please let me know your thoughts down below. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to know why. If you loved these first 2 books, if you loved The Predator, if you loved The Reaper, please also let me know your thoughts about it below. I think the one thing I really did like as well is that, yes, there is a ton of mystery and these reveals come so goddamn slowly, but when those things are revealed, it catches me off guard. I'm like, ooh, that's a surprise. I did not see that coming, and I love that. I love that in a mystery. So yeah, just let me know your thoughts. Put them down below. Watch my review on the series as a whole. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch you in the next one.